I never thought my life would take this kind of turn. Looking back, maybe I should have seen the signs. Little things that didn't add up, moments when my wife Candace seemed distracted, lost in thought. I just signed a major business contract on the West Coast, a deal that would set us up financially for years. I was on a high thinking about our future, about finally having the stability to start a family like we'd always talked about. But while I was planning our life, she was planning something else entirely. It started subtly, a change in her routine, a shift in her tone when she spoke to me, the way she started getting snappy over small things, like me forgetting to take out the trash or leaving my shoes by the door. But what really got me was when I noticed her laundry, a pair of her panties stiff in a way that made my stomach churn. My mind tried to rationalize it, but deep down I knew I needed proof. Before leaving for my trip, I did something I never thought I'd do. I met with a divorce attorney, just to understand my options. I wasn't ready to pull the trigger, not yet. But if she was cheating, I wanted to make sure I wasn't blindsided. You need evidence, the lawyer had told me. Solid evidence. Adultery changes the whole dynamic in a divorce. So I set up precautions, a tracking app on her phone, a hidden audio recorder in her purse. It felt dirty, spying on my own wife. But the knot in my gut told me I was right to be cautious. The first night of my trip, I called her after dinner. She was chipper, too chipper. Then she dropped a casual bombshell. She was waitressing at a party at my boss Jake's house. Waitressing? She hadn't mentioned that before. Jake was throwing a party? He hadn't mentioned that before. Something wasn't right. I played along. Be careful, I told her. Tell me about it tomorrow. Of course, honey. Love you, she said, but there was something off in her tone. The next morning, she didn't answer my calls. My stomach twisted. I checked the tracker. Her phone was still at Jake's house. The private investigator I'd hired sent me an email later that day. The subject line, "You're not going to like this." Inside were photos, Candace, with Jake, and not just Jake, 3 other men I once considered friends. I closed my laptop, hands shaking. I couldn't breathe. My wife, my partner for 5 years, hadn't just betrayed me. She'd thrown herself into something depraved, something deliberate. I felt like a fool. For the next few days, I went through the motions, signed the contract, shook hands, smiled when I needed to. But inside, I was burning. By the time I boarded my flight home, my plan was set. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg for answers. I was going to let her believe she had won. I met Candace when we were both too young to know what we really wanted out of life. I was 24, working my ass off to get my IT business off the ground, and she was 22, fresh out of college, bouncing between temp jobs, trying to figure things out. She wasn't the most stunning woman in the world, but she was cute. Brown eyes, a little dimple when she smiled, always biting her lip when she was deep in thought. She had this girl-next-door energy, the kind that made you feel comfortable around her. We met at a coffee shop of all places. I was buried in my laptop working on code when she plopped down at the seat across from me without asking. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," she said, sipping a frappuccino that was more whipped cream than coffee. "What are you working on?" I don't know why, but I answered her. Told her about the software I was building, how I was trying to land my first big client. Most people's eyes glazed over when I talked about that stuff, but she actually listened, nodding along, asking questions. She had this way of making me feel like I was the most interesting person in the room. It didn't take long before we started dating. She wasn't high maintenance or flashy, just a normal woman with a normal life. Maybe that's why I fell for her. I'd never been the kind of guy who needed some drop-dead gorgeous model. I just wanted someone to build a life with. And we did. We got married 3 years later, bought a small house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. We talked about kids from the start, but Candace wanted to wait. "Just a few more years," she'd say. "Let's enjoy being young first." I agreed. I was busy growing my business anyway, and she was bouncing between jobs, trying to figure out what she wanted. Years passed. We had some rough patches, but who doesn't? I always thought we were solid. Then, 2 years ago, she started bringing up the idea of kids again. By then, I had landed a few big contracts and we were financially stable. It felt like the right time. I was excited. She seemed excited. But nothing happened. At first, we chalked it up to bad timing, but months went by, then a year. She never wanted to see a doctor, always brushing it off. "It'll happen when it happens," she'd say. And then I found the birth control. She'd been taking it behind my back the whole time, telling me she wanted kids while secretly making sure it never happened. I confronted her. It turned into one of the worst fights we'd ever had. She cried, told me she wasn't ready, that she was scared of how much everything would change. "Once we have kids, that's it, Tim. Our lives won't be about us anymore." "That's the whole damn point," I shouted. She stormed out that night, came back hours later, puffy-eyed, saying she was sorry, that she'd stopped taking them. She even threw the pills in the trash right in front of me. I should have known better. Now, standing in front of our house, holding the key in my hand, all of those memories felt like a cruel joke. I had been fighting for something that had never been real. The injustice of it all made my hands shake. I had spent years working my ass off to build a good life for us, sacrificing sleep, vacations, time with friends, hell, even my health sometimes. And all the while, she had been running around with my boss, turning our house into some kind of twisted playground while I was across the country busting my ass. I walked inside, quiet as a shadow. The place smelled like candles, vanilla and something floral, the scent she always lit when she was trying to set the mood. It made me sick. Then I heard it. Voices, not hers, a man's, Jake. I clenched my jaw, stepping further into the house. The living room was dark, but the soft glow of light spilled from the bedroom. My bedroom. I moved without thinking, rage fueling my every step. The door wasn't even fully closed, just slightly ajar. I could hear them laughing. I pushed the door open. Candace was sitting on the bed in nothing but a robe, sipping a glass of wine. Jake was standing near the dresser, shirtless, holding a drink like he belonged there. For a split second, they didn't notice me. Then Candace looked up and her face went pale. "Tim?" she choked out, nearly dropping her glass. Jake turned, blinking in confusion before realization hit. For a moment, nobody moved. Then I lunged. I don't remember much of what happened next. Just fists, a crash, Candace screaming. Jake was bigger than me, but I had something he didn't. Pure, unfiltered rage. I tackled him to the ground, landing punches wherever I could. His nose cracked under my fist, blood spraying across the carpet. He swung back, catching my jaw, but I barely felt it. Candace was screaming, begging me to stop, clawing at my arms, but I didn't care. I needed him to feel even a fraction of the betrayal that was eating me alive. Then she did something I didn't expect. She grabbed the lamp off the nightstand and smashed it against my head. Pain exploded across my skull. My vision blurred. The next thing I knew, I was on the floor, dizzy, the metallic taste of blood in my mouth. Jake scrambled up, panting, touching his busted nose. "You psycho," he spat. "You're done, Tim. You're done." Candace dropped to her knees beside him, touching his face with trembling hands. "Are you okay?" "Not me. Him." That's when I realized I wasn't just losing my wife. I had lost her a long time ago. She had already chosen a side, the side that wasn't mine. I forced myself up, my head throbbing, but I barely felt it over the pain in my chest. Then the red and blue lights flashed through the window. The cops. Candace had called them. On me. I stared at her, my vision tunneling, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. She wouldn't even look at me. I let out a bitter, hollow laugh. This was what my life had become, and it was far from over. I sat in the back of the police cruiser, head throbbing from where Candace had smashed the lamp against me. My own wife. The woman I had spent 5 years of my life with. The woman I had sacrificed for, loved, built a future with, had called the cops on me for defending myself in my own damn house. I wasn't under arrest, not yet, but the officers were making it clear that if Jake decided to press charges, I'd be spending the night in a cell. The worst part? Candace hadn't even looked at me. While I sat bleeding in the back of the car, she was inside tending to him, and that's when I realized I needed to know why. Not just the usual excuses, not just it just happened or I wasn't happy. I needed to know why she did this, why she had betrayed me in the most humiliating, disgusting way possible, and I needed revenge. Nuclear revenge. The next day, after a miserable night at a cheap motel, I called the lawyer. I want the divorce papers drafted immediately, I told her. Understood, Ruby said. Are you sure you don't want to wait? No, and I want to make sure she gets nothing. There was a pause. That's going to be difficult unless we prove adultery. I clenched my jaw. I have photos, I have evidence. I even have a private investigator's report. That seemed to catch her attention. Send everything over. If we can prove infidelity, we might be able to negotiate the split in your favor. That was step one. Step two? Understanding Candace's motivation. I knew my wife. She wasn't a manipulative mastermind. She wasn't some seductress who played men like chess pieces. She was a normal woman, the kind who took forever to pick a restaurant, the kind who still had stuffed animals from childhood. She wasn't the type to plan something like this unless someone else had helped her. I waited. 3 days passed. I didn't go home. I let her think she had won. Then I sent her a text. We need to talk. She replied immediately. Where? I picked a neutral location, a coffee shop. She showed up looking different. No makeup, hair tied back in a messy bun, wearing an oversized hoodie. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. That meant she was scared. Good. She sat down across from me, gripping her coffee cup like it was a shield. Are you okay? I ignored the question. Why did you do it? She blinked. Tim, no lies, no excuses, just tell me the truth. Candace swallowed hard, staring down at her coffee. I never planned for it to go this far, she whispered. Bull. Her head snapped up. I didn't. She exhaled sharply. I didn't mean for it to happen, Tim. I felt trapped. You were always so busy, always working. You stopped paying attention to me. And Jake, he was just there. He listened to me. He made me feel wanted. I let out a hollow laugh. And that's worth throwing away everything? Lying to me about wanting kids? Sleeping with half the damn company? Her face twisted in guilt. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you call the cops on me? She bit her lip. She had no answer for that. I leaned forward. Tell me the truth, Candace. Whose idea was it? Her hands trembled as she held the coffee cup. Jake's. I already knew it, but hearing it made my blood boil. He said, if we got rid of you, we could have everything, she continued, voice barely above a whisper. He said we could live together, take your pension, sell the house, that you'd be out of the picture, and I let him convince me. My stomach turned. So what was the plan exactly? She hesitated. I slammed my hand on the table. Say it. She jumped, tears welling in her eyes. Jake wanted to set you up, she admitted. He wanted to provoke you, make you snap, and then press charges. He said if you had a criminal record, you'd lose your job, your reputation, everything. He wanted you gone, Tim, and I was stupid enough to go along with it. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. So that was it. It wasn't just an affair. It was a goddamn coup. Jake wanted to erase me. He wanted my life, my wife, my house, my money. He wanted to destroy me and step into my place like I never existed. And Candace, my wife, had gone along with it. But there was one small problem. Jake was dead. Candace didn't know that yet. She thought he was still alive, still waiting for her to help take me down. I looked her dead in the eyes. You're a fool, Candace. She flinched. Tim, I hope you enjoyed your time with Jake. I stood up. Because you're about to find out just how wrong you were. She frowned. What do you mean? I didn't answer. I just walked out. Time for step 3. Jake had set me up? Fine. I'd set him up too. I had his emails, his texts to Candace, his financial records proving he'd been embezzling from the company for years. I made an anonymous tip to the IRS. I forwarded every incriminating message to his wife. Because, oh yeah, Jake was married. And just for good measure, I sent everything to my boss. Jake was going to lose his reputation, his job, and his entire life, just like he tried to do to me. Except, of course, for one little twist. Jake wasn't alive to fight back. When I had left that house bleeding, I'd heard the sirens, seen the cops rush inside. But the next morning, when I checked my phone, I had a voicemail from the police station. Something terrible happened at your house. We need you to come in and identify a body. At first, I was thrilled. I thought it was me they were calling about. That Candace and Jake had finished their plan, lied about what happened, maybe even claimed I had attacked them. But when I walked into that morgue and saw the body on the table, it wasn't mine. It was Jake's. His face was frozen in shock, his throat slashed wide open. I stared down at him, heart hammering, trying to process what I was looking at. And then the cop said, "Your wife found him like this in your house, says she has no idea what happened." I almost laughed. I turned to the officer and said the only thing I could think of. Yeah, me neither. I walked out of the police station feeling like I had stepped into some alternate reality. Jake was dead, slaughtered. Candace had found him like that, and now she was playing the clueless, grieving mistress, pretending she had no idea what happened. But I knew her too well. She wasn't some criminal mastermind. She wasn't even smart enough to pull off an affair without leaving evidence everywhere. And now I was supposed to believe she had no clue how her lover ended up with his throat slit in my house? Number something wasn't right. I drove back to the house, my mind racing. The cops had already combed through everything, but they didn't charge me with anything. There was no sign of forced entry, nothing to tie me to the crime. Jake had been butchered in my bedroom, but there were no fingerprints, no murder weapon, no evidence that I had done it. Which meant one of two things. Someone else had killed Jake. Candace had killed Jake, and now she was trying to cover it up. The second option felt impossible. She was many things. A liar, a cheater, a traitor, but a killer. Still, the thought nagged at me. I pushed open the front door and stepped inside. The place was still a mess. Bloodstains on the carpet, furniture overturned. I stood there staring at the spot where Jake had died, trying to see it the way it must have happened. Then I noticed something, a smear of lipstick on the dresser mirror. Not just a smudge, writing, lies catch up to you. My stomach turned. I knew that shade. It was Candace's. That night I waited. Candace was staying at a hotel, probably drowning in guilt or panic. At around midnight, I sent her a text, "Meet me at the house." Now she didn't respond right away, but after 15 minutes I saw her car pull into the driveway. She stepped out hesitantly, wrapped in that same hoodie, looking exhausted. Her eyes were red. Whether from crying or lack of sleep, I didn't care. She stepped inside. "Tim, why are we here?" I gestured toward the bedroom. "I think you know." Her breath hitched. "I told you, I don't know what happened. I found him like that." "Cut the igchias, Candace." She flinched. I took a step closer. "You wrote on the mirror." Her face paled. "What?" "That message, lies catch up to you. That was your lipstick." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then I saw it. The look in her eyes. Fear. She wasn't scared of me, she was scared of something else. And then she whispered something that sent chills down my spine. "I didn't write that." Silence. The air between us felt heavy, suffocating. My mind screamed at me to call bull. But something about the way she said it, the way her hands shook. "What do you mean?" I asked slowly. She swallowed hard. "I didn't write that, Tim. I swear. But someone was in the house that night." I narrowed my eyes. "Who?" She hesitated. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Jake's wife." My blood ran cold. Jake was married. I knew that. I had sent all my evidence to his wife, but I didn't expect her to show up and slit his throat. I took a step back, trying to process. "You're telling me she was here that night?" Candace nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know how she got in, but she called me right before I found him." I felt my stomach drop. "What did she say?" Candace's lip trembled. "She said, 'He lied to both of us, and now he gets what he deserves.'" My heart pounded. This was bigger than I thought. Jake's wife had found out about the affair, and instead of divorcing him, instead of exposing him, she had taken justice into her own hands. I ran a hand through my hair. "Candace, you need to tell the cops." She shook her head violently. "No, no way, she'll come after me next. She thinks I helped him." I exhaled sharply. "Candace, if she's capable of this, you think staying quiet is going to keep you safe?" She looked at me wide-eyed, shaking. "What do I do?" I stared at her for a long moment, and then I smiled. "We set a trap." I sat across from Candace, watching the panic in her eyes. Jake's wife had killed him. She had found out about the affair, tracked them down, and slaughtered him in my house. And now Candace was terrified she'd be next. Good. Let her feel that fear. Let her know what it's like to be helpless, to know someone else is pulling the strings of your life. I could have walked away, let her deal with the mess she helped create, but I wasn't done yet. I wanted justice, and I wanted revenge. The trapped Candace gripped her coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her from breaking down. "Tim, we should just go to the cops," I smirked. "And tell them what?" "That you and Jake conspired to ruin me, but his wife got to him first." I shook my head. "No, Candace, you don't go to the cops. You let me handle this." Her lip trembled. "How?" I leaned forward. "We invite her back." Candace's eyes went wide. "Are you insane?" "Think about it," I said, voice calm. "She already thinks she got away with it. But what if she hears something that makes her think otherwise?" I pulled out my phone and opened a voice recorder app. "You're going to call her, tell her Jake left something at the house, something she wouldn't want the cops to find." Candace swallowed hard. "And then what?" "We see if she takes the bait." Candace hesitated, but I saw the wheels turning in her head. She had no loyalty to Jake. She had picked the winning side once before, and now she had to do it again. She exhaled shakily and took the phone. I hit record. "Call her." Candace dialed, putting the phone on speaker. It rang once, twice. Then, "What do you want?" The voice was sharp, cold, Jake's wife. Candace's hands shook. I found something in Jake's things, at the house. I don't know if it's important, but I already got everything I need. Don't call me again." Before she could hang up, I grabbed the phone. "Hey, Beth." Silence, then a sharp inhale. "Tim?" "That's right." I kept my voice casual. "Funny thing, after the cops left, I found Jake's laptop. And you know Jake, always covering his ass. You should see the things he kept." The silence stretched. Then she spoke. "Where are you?" Bingo. The confrontation. That night, I sat in the darkened house, waiting. Candace was upstairs, too scared to come down. I didn't care. This was my moment. At exactly midnight, the back door creaked open. Beth stepped inside, dressed in black, moving like a ghost. Her eyes darted around the room until they landed on me, sitting calmly in Jake's old chair. "You said you had something," she said, voice tight. I held up a flash drive. "Everything Jake had on you. Bank accounts, transactions, your little secret trips. He was preparing to leave you and take everything." Beth's jaw clenched. I smiled. "Guess he didn't get the chance." Her eyes darkened. "Give me the drive." I tossed it onto the coffee table. She stepped forward, reaching for it. And then I pulled out my phone and hit play. Her own voice filled the room. "He lied to both of us. And now he gets what he deserves." Beth froze. Slowly, she turned to me, realization sinking in. I leaned back. I don't care about Jake. He was a piece of XG. But you killed him in my house. You tried to frame me. And now I have proof. Her fingers twitched at her side. What do you want? I grinned. I want to watch you burn. She lunged, but I was ready. I ducked as she swung something, a knife, just barely missing my throat. I grabbed her wrist, twisting hard. She screamed as the knife clattered to the floor. Footsteps thundered upstairs, Candace finally realizing what was happening. Beth struggled, but I shoved her down, pinning her. Call the cops, I shouted. Candace hesitated, then grabbed my phone and dialed. Beth went still beneath me, chest rising and falling rapidly. She knew. It was over. The aftermath. The police arrived within minutes. Beth tried to claim self-defense, but the recording and the murder weapon she stupidly brought back with her sealed her fate. She was arrested on the spot. Candace? She was in shock, but she knew she had dodged a bullet. And me? I walked away with my freedom, but I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. Make sure she gets nothing, I told her. No money, no house, no pension. Ruby smirked. Already in motion. I sent Candace the divorce papers that same afternoon. She called me, voice shaking. Tim, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Can't we? I hung up. I was done. Final revenge. One last thing, Jake's company had been spiraling ever since his death. No leader, no direction. The board was looking for someone to take charge. I made a few calls, pulled some strings, and a month later, I was sitting in Jake's office. The company was mine. Candace lost everything. Beth was rotting in a cell. And me, I was finally free.